Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. This is our weekly EV podcast. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to scoot in just a little bit so that I can be seen.
So you're not off frame, yeah.
Yes.
So the image behind us, I asked AI for an image demonstrating and illustrating that EVs are taking over the world, and it did quite a bit more. We've got some wind energy in there. We've got solar panels in there and some fairly odd-shaped buildings, which look very futuristic. But anyway, the vehicles, let me move out of the way a little bit. They all look like electric vehicles of some type. And it even tried to write electric on one of them, but it misspelled it. You know, AI is a horrible speller at this point.
Yeah, it's young still. We'll just give it a pass.
Yeah.
Hey, remember, you can always bring up images that I can show the audience if you want to show better detail.
Yeah, okay. That's true. I'll do that here in a second, Jesse. So one topic that I didn't research because you have to pay for it to get into Business Insider, and I refuse to do that. I'm a cheapskate, I guess. But Tesla tells workers on Cybertruck line no need to report to work for the next 3 days. And Mark looked into it. What's that all about?
I like you. I'm kind of a cheapskate, and so I go to Google or ChatGPT to look up, see what kind of articles are out there, because usually you can find one that's free. I did. I kind of it gave me a little bit of pause. Tesla apparently has had a very unusual, I guess is what I'll call it, production schedule. They're already down to the people at the base level Cybertruck as far as the reservations go.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the last of the Cybertrucks that were being reserved of the 2 million reservations. There are people that have made Cybertruck reservations very late in the game that have been given the chance to fulfill their orders already. I can think of even Richard Beach, who did a Cybertruck reservation just over a year ago and had already received a couple months back an email saying, "Hey, your truck is ready to order whenever you want." This is telling me that there are a number of people, probably a much higher number of people than Tesla had counted on, who made reservations for the Cybertruck but decided, nah, I don't think I'm going to order one. Tesla thought and projected that they'd be making 150,000 Cybertrucks a year within the first year. Through the end of the third quarter in 2024, Tesla has made and delivered 28,250 Cybertrucks. Now, 16,000, almost 17,000 of those were made just in quarter three. But that's a lot less than what people were anticipating as far as the ramp up goes. It looks like they're going to have probably somewhere around 50,000 Cybertrucks delivered overall in 2024. The idea of giving people days off, and this isn't a unique thing. People from Tesla are saying, hey, used to be if you went to work for Tesla, you were guaranteed overtime. Now they're telling us that they're going to pay us to take days off. There's a bit of a mismatch between supply and demand. And they've got more supply than they've got demand. That's really what it. Even with that, I learned that Cybertruck in the third quarter of this year was the third best-selling EV on the market today, behind only the Model 3 and the Model Y.
Okay, so doesn't sound like it's they're in trouble of any kind, but they're giving employees some extra time. Very good. So that image that Jesse was talking about, let me see if I can bring that up here and move that over to here. There we go. And there is the image that DAL-E actually generated. Oh, a bunch of chargers in the foreground there. There we go. Like a robo-taxi in there somewhere. And a lot of bicycling taking place. If you like that image, I'll show you another one that it also rendered with DAL-E. You usually get two variations, and this was the other variation that we got. Again, very unusual buildings in the background there. Maybe AI knows something about architecture that we haven't discovered yet, but those circular buildings there almost look like they are a rotating type building that could generate energy during some wind.
That's what I'm thinking too, that those helix-shaped structures, I don't even know if they're buildings as much as they would be some sort of a wind generating thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, lots of solar in there. And if you notice with that one, well, there we go. Lower right-hand corner, right by Mark, we've got gardens.
Yes.
Maybe that's going to be popular again in the future. It certainly was in the last century.
Definitely looks like quite a utopian landscape, a utopian
Yeah.
city landscape.
So speaking of images, I've got another one here we're going to pop up, and this one was interesting to me because this is an image that let me see if I can go full screen on this one. Upsize it a bit. So if you had bought a Tesla Model S in 2012 for $77,000, your value today for that Model S would be $31,000. If you had instead said, I'm going to be patient and wait 4 or 12 years to get my Tesla and put that money into Tesla stock,
Yeah.
that number down on the lower right there is $6,227,000 and some change. And you know what? That's not even accurate. Mark did the research.
That is not even accurate. In August of 2020, Tesla had its first stock split. And so going from June 22nd of 2012 to November 24th of 2020, you wouldn't have 11,390 shares of Tesla stock. You would have 5 times that many, or 56,950 shares.
Right.
Which means instead of $31,000 in car, you'd have had about $31.3 million worth of Tesla stock, about 1,000-fold more. I also did the math of, okay, well, what would it be worth today? Because, these are 2020 numbers. So coming forward, well, there were additional stock splits, a 3-for-1 split in August of 22, and another 3-for-1 split in March of 2023. So that would leave you with a total of 512,550 shares worth, as of 8 a.m. this morning, $353 exactly, leaves you at roughly $181 million in value. So
Amazing.
you could have had $31,000 car or $181 million worth of wealth.
Right. Now, before we indulge in too much regret here, folks, let's put this back in perspective. Had people bought the stock instead of the car, there would be no Tesla today.
That's right.
Okay, so it was all of those people that bought the car that actually allowed that kind of valuation in stock. And what I find is most Tesla owners are sold on the company, and they tend to have stock along with the car.
I agree. And there's a reason that it's called unicorn. You don't find these things. And, if somebody really wanted to play the unicorn game like this, you say, okay, I'm going to take my Tesla stock that I bought in 2012 and got $180 million or $31 million even in 2020. That's near the peak of Tesla's valuation. And I'm going to switch that in 2020 from Tesla to NVIDIA. And I'm going to take that entire $31 million, move it into NVIDIA. In 2020, NVIDIA was a video card maker, but there was nothing too remarkable about them.
Right.
How much money would that be worth now? It would be way more than $180 million.
And then we could throw some others in there too, like Bitcoin, for example. And,
yeah.
The ones that just keep on going. So we've got a bunch of questions coming in here. Instagram, Monsir Mohammed 611 says, nice work. Thank you.
Thank you.
YouTube, John Smith says, I thought about buying a Cybertruck, but didn't want to deal with the attention. So I went with a more mainstream Rivian R1T, and I love it. Yeah, that's a good point. The R1T doesn't quite exact the same amount of attention that the Cybertruck does.
It does, and it looks a lot more like other similar vehicles. On YouTube, Mustafa El Gamal is back. He says, I got the invitation for the Cybertruck, and I'm waiting for the base model. Well, Mustafa, you might not have a long wait, because one of the things I read is that Tesla is starting to release the base model.
And YouTube comment, John Smith, based on our background picture, he says, it is utopian. None of the chargers were out of order.
Yeah. That's a great one. And then YouTube, Ryan, he says the Cybertruck is down to $78,000 with the referral code. Ryan is correct. I saw on one article that I saw about the Cybertruck invitations, if you get the referral code or the reservation code, you can order your base model Cybertruck for $78,000 now.
And people aren't flipping them anymore either. There was a period of time when you could actually make money on buying one and selling it.
Yeah, that whole thing I think became kind of a moot point very quickly.
Yeah. Interesting article here. ICE vehicles are losing ground. EV market share doubles in 2.5 years. It reads like this: electric car sales are not just rising, they're stealing market share from the traditional gas mobiles. According to a recent report, EVs have nearly doubled their market share from 10% to 17.4% in just 2 years. Meanwhile, internal combustion engine vehicles have seen their market share drop from 78% to 63%. This shift, they say, is driven by a combination of factors, including improved infrastructure, attractive lease deals, and a growing appetite for affordable models. As more consumers embrace electric vehicle mobility, the auto industry is witnessing a significant transformation.
What do you think about this particular theory? Because this article, I think, is spot on. The things that are really going to end up driving the growth of the EV market long term are not government incentives necessarily, but having a good product at a good or better price than what gasoline can get you. And that way people overcome the perceived shortcomings of EVs and say, you know, I'm going to try for it. Let's say we start to see that tipping point really move, that inverted S curve start to go up like this. Do automakers like Lucid or Audi or Mercedes that are trying to focus on the luxury end benefit when the entire market rises?
That's a fair question. You know, I've always been a believer that in this EV revolution, you had your early adopters, the people that were very much focused on sustainable energy. Cost wasn't that big an issue. It was the fact that they were deeply committed to saving the planet, right? And we all knew that there was a gigantic majority of individuals who were in the wings waiting for a tipping point. They could care less about the planet. I mean, most people don't even think about it.
Right.
You know, the rising coastal areas, the odd weather patterns that we're beginning to see, the droughts, and, you know, all clear signals that something is shifting. So people have been waiting for that tipping point. And my opinion is that China is the one that is going to make that happen with these inexpensive EV vehicles. Now, how does it affect the luxury market? It's a small market, and I think there are always going to be people willing to pay a lot of money for certain traits in the vehicle.
Right.
Oh, we've got Cass.
So we're gonna have a pause on comments. It looks like.
All right. A little bit of technical issue this morning. So, Mark, we've got an article here about the world's most powerful battery. What's that all about?
This is a really intriguing and kind of exciting idea. What if instead of an EV containing a battery, if the EV was the battery? So the concept is called structural battery storage. And it's a fairly straightforward concept where the battery is both your energy storage medium and part of the vehicle that bears the mechanical load, like a vehicle frame and stuff like that. It gives strength and integrity to the vehicle. These batteries that are still mostly in research, but there are some breakthroughs that have come through, and it's an incredibly intriguing thing. Here's an example. Replace the roof of your car with a structural battery. You maintain the rigidity and the safety features of the car's roof, but now you've just added maybe 20 kilowatt hours worth of energy to your car, and you've reduced the weight of your car by almost 20%.
How so?
The battery is made mainly of carbon fiber.
Okay.
And lithium iron phosphate is blended in with the carbon fiber to create your particular battery cells. They can use carbon fiber as both the anode and the cathode, so the transfer of energy is proving to be stable. It gets rid of some of the nickel and cobalt and other conflict minerals that are in current lithium ion batteries, and yet stays stable. They're working out the details on longevity and energy density on these batteries. But the end result could be a car roof, if you could imagine, that uh, is makes your car 20% lighter, changes the range of your car from say 300 miles to 510 miles because it can improve it. That's how dramatic an increase in fuel efficiency or energy efficiency you can have, and and you and and you may even be able to put a solar panel right on top of that, a layer of solar panel on top, so it charges itself too,
Mm-hmm.
a la Aptera. Here are some of the ideas that have been floated around for this. You could have, with this technology, your smartphone could be the thickness of a credit card, because the phone itself, the phone case itself, is the battery. There's no need for a thick battery.
Right.
So you have simply a very small circuit board, and the case that surrounds that small, thin circuit board is the battery. A laptop that weighs under a pound but has all the features and capabilities and even longer battery life than current laptops have. Again, the structural batteries. Maybe you still have an undercar battery, maybe you don't. Maybe the entire frame of the car becomes the battery, and then you're able to reduce your car's weight by as much as 40 to 50%, and yet increase the range pretty dramatically, because instead of having a 110 kilowatt battery to get your car 330 miles, you maybe have 90 kilowatt battery and your car is going 600 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, the concept is pretty straightforward. Like I said, researchers are integrating carbon fiber, just like your carbon fiber weave, with LFP, and you end up with a material that can save energy. It's as strong and stiff as aluminum, but it's just a fraction of the weight.
Now, is this concept on a drawing board somewhere, or is there a company associated that is beginning to create the product?
There appear to be companies that are in the research and development phase of actually creating the product. So it's not just a drawing board issue anymore. It is. It has been successfully created. The very first lab generation of these batteries could be charged somewhere around 100 times before they started to lose integrity, and they didn't have really good energy density. More recently, with tweaks to the battery chemistry and the construction process, they've been able to get the battery charge up significantly to close to 1,000 charges, to 1,000 cycles before it starts to significantly degrade. And they have been able to also increase the energy density so that right now it's about somewhere between a quarter and a third of what an LFP battery density.
Mm-hmm.
The way that it's going through the R&D process, I would say give it about 5 years and that might be commercially ready.
Mm-hmm. John chimes in from YouTube. He says, I've grown indifferent to the hype around the next big thing in batteries. There is a rapid evolution, it appears. And, when you were talking about this, these new directions, what came to mind was photovoltaic paint. Every car, every mode of transportation has some sort of a pigment, paint, something on the surface. Well, why not convert that to something energy generating?
It's very possible. One point that I kind of have to agree with John on. There has been so much advertised about the next quote unquote game changer. I'm even tired of the term game changer because
it's become trite.
Yeah, that's a great word for it. It is. If everything's a game changer, then nothing's a game changer.
Right.
What we need to start seeing are some of these technologies out in the real world getting sold and making a difference.
In application, you bet. Another interesting article this last week: Shenzhen, China was the first city to change all its public buses to electric in 2017. It now has more than 16,000 electric buses.
According to Wired, the Shenzhen buses being all converted to electricity has had a significant impact. One of the first things that stood out to me has nothing to do with electricity. Shenzhen, it was founded 40 years ago.
Really?
The entire city of 13 million people is 40 years old. It was founded while Hong Kong was still in the care, custody, and control of the UK,
Right.
as a sister city to compete with Hong Kong in the manufacturing space.
Okay.
Shenzhen has largely been successful, but the way that the city was built up so quickly and everything happened, it was one of the most polluted cities in the world. And I do want to emphasize was because it is no longer one of the most polluted cities in the world. And these buses are one of the things that is taken a credit for a fairly significant amount of the pollution drop.
Mm-hmm.
These buses are, now that they're implemented, these electric buses have reduced carbon emissions in the city of Shenzhen by somewhere around 280,000 tons of CO2 per year.
I believe that our batteries are being manufactured in Shenzhen, China, are they not?
The Gruber Power Services batteries, there's some of them that are being manufactured in Shenzhen and have been for many years, yes.
Mm-hmm. Interesting tidbit of information there. Social media guys, we lost our ability to capture some questions. Have we lost any, and should we notify people to re-ask, or?
No, we're back. We lost Wi-Fi on one of the laptops, but we didn't miss anything.
Okay, good. Another interesting article here. It looks like the Arabs are buying yet another car company. First was
Yeah.
Lucid, right? McLaren Automotive to be acquired by Abu Dhabi investment firm CYVN Holdings. Going to be interesting to see how this plays out, but the article goes like this: McLaren Automotive is being sold by its current owner, Bahrain's sovereign wealth fund, Mumtalakat, to the Abu Dhabi-based investment group, CYVN Holdings, under undisclosed terms. CYVN describes the investment as transformative, particularly benefiting its electrical vehicle initiatives. The group will also acquire a non-controlling stake in the Mclaren Group, which includes the automaker's racing division. So it's going to be interesting to see, with some serious financial backing like this, McLaren looks like will survive and move into the EV space with hopefully some exotic sports type EVs.
I certainly hope so. It's kind of exciting, although it's one Middle East entity. In this case, the sovereign wealth fund of a country being sold to another Middle East entity. I don't know if CVYN is, or CYVN, I'm sorry, is held through the government or not, but I'm intrigued. I hope for the best for McLaren there.
And of course, we're all excited about the fact that the people that have been controlling dinosaur juice all these years are moving into something more sustainable.
That might be, to me, one of the biggest takeaways from this. Bahrain, now you've got the wealth fund here. You've got Saudi Arabia. This is a thing in the Middle East. This isn't just one or two places that are doing this. It's actually becoming kind of a thing.
It's a smart move, yeah.
Is the Middle East going to, in 10 years, become the world's hotbed of EV manufacturing?
That would be fascinating, yes. So half of all new cars, folks, that are sold in China are now electric. Here's how this one reads. This is from Clean Energy Canada. New EV milestone. Sales of battery electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles in China have officially now reached 50% of all new car sales, with EVs now making up 10% of all cars on the country's roads. As a result, the analysts forecast China's gas demand and number of gas cars on its roads to peak as early as 2025. The real question is what happens after that, after the peak is reached and there's a decline.
It is. It was only 5 years ago, 6 years ago, everybody was talking about, hey, we've just had, I guess it was with COVID, we've had this global downturn, and yet the economies are going to roar back, and you've got China, and you've got India, and they need all this oil, and we'll never be able to keep up with demand, and oh my gosh, what's going to happen to the world?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now those same naysayers are going to be saying exactly the same thing in the opposite direction. China doesn't need oil anymore, and they used to be the ones that had all this demand, and it's going to be a catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be a catastrophe for the petroleum industry instead.
Right. Yep. Bunch of comments coming in. YouTube, John Smith says, can you believe the tiny little town of Wenatchee, Washington, has had electric buses since 2018? I did not know that. BYD buses with inductive charging by Momentum Dynamics. Isn't that
I
something?
did not know that. And John, I've been through Wenatchee. That's over in eastern Washington, not far from where I grew up. And I had no idea they've had electric buses since 2018. That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And they're inductive electric buses to boot.
Yeah, state-of-the-art stuff all the way. YouTube, Spoonie412 asks, are neurological interfaces based, TENG, being implemented and discussed amongst the early inhabitants? I'm not following that question.
Are neurological interfaces based, TENG, being implemented and discussed among the earthly inhabitants? Well, I know that Elon is talking about that.
Yeah, Neuralink.
This is Neuralink.
Yeah, this
okay.
is
Neurological
Neuralink.
interfaces, yeah.
Okay.
So there is discussion of it, and it's moving forward, but I have not heard anything about this concept other than Neuralink. Have you heard anything?
No, there's a whole school of thought that, of course, is favoring non-invasive connections to bioorganisms.
Right.
Neuralink is very invasive. It's something that sits inside your brain, basically.
Yes.
But yeah, as technology continues to evolve, eventually these will be non-invasive or not in the brain. Who knows?
Well, considering the type of brain activity that we can already measure, how far of a leap is it to think that we could harness that measurable brain activity with a device and actually alter it without ever having to enter the cranial cavity?
Now we're talking about wireless, kind of like Wi-Fi.
Almost like Wi-Fi, yeah.
The electrical signals that are emanating from the gray matter are actually being decoded by external receivers.
Yes.
That would be cool.
Yes.
All right. So let's see. Circle Trush from TikTok. Welcome. He says, I see you have your first million. Yes, and we're pretty excited about that. We've been doing videos, and congratulations. He says, we in Ukraine, we see your content. Well, thanks for joining us. Yeah, Ukraine, we're all waiting to see what the outcome of this shift in the administration in the United States brings for Ukraine, and we're rooting for you and wishing the best. All right, do we have some social... Oh, wait a minute, before we do that, let me bring up a picture here, guys, and then get your opinion on this. Here we go. This is the new Jaguar and the new image. And do you remember my reaction, Aaron, when you first asked me, what do I think of it?
Yeah, you pretty much just rolled your eyes.
It's different, it's novel, and then I did qualify that response though by saying, I've been wrong before. I thought the Cybertruck was a joke when it rolled out during the earnings call, and boy, was I wrong on that one, right? There are a lot of superlatives being swirled about the people that are presenting this new look and this new image, such as exuberance, and I wish I had written down all the rest. They were entertaining. However, reading the responses from viewers of these videos that are now announcing this new look and feel for Jaguar, let me just read you a few of those, and it seems to be the dominant theme. First one is, "This is the most colorful funeral I have ever watched." Then there's another one. "Don't worry, Jaguar. No one is going to copy you." Now, this is, of course, playing on their claim that we are copying no one. Another one. "This is not Jaguar. It only identifies with one." Here's another one. "Rest in peace, beloved Jaguar." And finally, because of all the negative commentary on this video, someone said, "I'm surprised they left the comments open." You know, Jaguar, there's an interesting story. I met one of the legendary racers at a Cars and Coffee about 15 years ago or so. I don't remember his name. It wasn't Sterling Moss, but it was someone like him. And everybody was buzzing about the fact that we were really honored to have this gentleman grace our Cars and Coffee in Scottsdale because he's extraordinarily well known in the Jaguar community. And the rest of the story was something like this. The reason that the Jaguars looked so distinctly different after World War II was because the majority of the munitions manufacturers making planes for the RAF in the UK were out of work. World War II was over. And they ended up, many of them, going to work for Jaguar, and they brought a lot of their aerodynamic expertise to the company. Now, mind you, this was in the 50s before aerodynamics was really a thing. It took another 10 years or so for NASCAR to recognize that if you put a wedge-shaped front on a car, you can get another 10 miles top speed out of it.
Right.
And they capitalized on that. So Jaguar has had a long, legendary, lifespan. And there's a very particular look and feel to the car, which most people identify with. You know, the cat on the front of the hood. Well, this look and feel in this direction completely deviates from any of that early, Jaguar stigma that everyone is expecting. So will they be able to succeed with this? I'm not going to be the expert on this, but so far it looks like the response to this is not overwhelmingly positive. In fact, just the opposite.
My favorite comment is the one that I just saw. Jaguar just introduced the pink Batmobile.
Yeah. So there you have it. And we would like to bring in our social media experts now on a couple of topics. Which of you wants to go first?
So Aaron's going to be going first. I'm bringing him up now.
Okay.
Oh, transition didn't work. Sorry, there you go.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey,
So my topic today is Ford's EV delays good or bad? Real quick, Pete and Mark, what do you guys think? Do you think the EV delays for Ford is good or bad right now?
Well, my feeling on that is that they need to pivot, and they need to pivot quickly. And it's kind of like an analogy that I found this morning was, if you have cookies and tea, and you put your cookie into the tea to soften it, you delay too much and it dissolves.
yeah.
So that would be my take on this. I don't think time is on their side.
Oh, sorry, Mark, real quick before. Now, when you say delay, are you talking about them cutting their production, or what do you mean? Delay on producing EVs?
Yeah, and so I was just going to actually get into that after Mark's response, but they are right now rolling back their Model E division is what they've announced.
I see.
So before they were all in, like I think 2020 to 2022, they were all in and they were hoping to have, more EVs rolling out right now, but they've actually delayed some stuff. And interesting, the Tennessee plant that they're opening up, it's not going to be a full EV plant right off the bat. They're actually changing it to a Super Duty plant.
Are we
Oh, really?
gonna,
Wow.
yeah, are we going to put the camera on Aaron?
Okay.
It looks like we're the ones doing the talking. And
Well,
we're not.
Mark is about to give his.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I think for Ford, they're left with kind of that prisoner's choice. They didn't roll out their EVs in a way that matches the marketplace. And so if they really go all in on EVs now, they die soon. Because they've botched it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
If they roll back too much though, their prisoner's choice that they've chosen is that they're going to die later rather than die now.
Good point.
They are getting further behind, and I think it's a bad choice for them.
Yeah.
I don't have answers for Ford on this one. I think they have a hard row to hoe as it goes forward. But I don't think they've been looking at what the market what the market wants. Instead, I think Ford has been looking at what can get us the most money.
You know, it's sad on a number of levels, but the primary one is this is a century-old company that basically redefined transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the first incumbent of, a equal size that has gone away. We talked about Kodak in our last video.
Yeah.
Digital equipment, the one that I worked for. It's always sad when you see these companies begin to atrophy and die.
It is, and I think that if Ford had taken the time to try to build a more affordable car that was what it was, an EV for the masses type of thing, I think they'd have had a much better chance of being successful with that car. The Ford truck, I love the Lightning. I think it's a fantastic vehicle, and one day I hope that I can maybe have a Lightning or the Ram Revolution or one of those. But at the same time, I don't think that's the right direction for Ford to have taken off the bat.
Yeah.
They gambled and they lost.
Well, it's going to be interesting for Ford. Like I mentioned before, their Model E division is what they were calling all their electric vehicles, is being rolled back, and it's being spread out over the next 3 to 4 years. If Pete or Jesse want to pop up pick one, this is kind of like a concept that they've sort of leaked with the newer trucks that are going to be rolling out here. But pretty much what they said back in 2022 is that there will be no F-250 or F-350 Lightnings. And the reason why is because it's due to payload demands.
Are you pulling it up, Pete?
Yeah. Which image did you want, Aaron?
number
If they're
one.
labeled.
Pick one.
Yeah, number one.
One. Okay, there we go.
And so if you look at that right there, that looks nothing like any of their designs right now. It actually kind of, in fact, if you want to pick up, or if you want to put out pick two, it actually looks kind of like the Canoe.
Yeah.
Like if you look at them, they've almost adopted a similar design.
You should
And
be
the-
able to use your
and-
arrows.
And the only thing I could think of is the aerodynamics to help out with range. That's the only thing I could think of right now, is because I think that's Ford's biggest challenge right now. Is the F-150 has been a fantastic truck, minus the towing range. Okay, it can tow, it just can't tow it very far, and I think that's where you're missing that that core truck guy right there. It's like, I would love to have this truck. It does meet a lot of my specs, but I can't go long distance with it. And so they're hoping something like this of a design is going to help out with range. Like I mentioned before, there'll be no F-250s or 350s in the Lightning brand, I guess you could say, because of the payloads and the battery requirements. So this kind of raises the eyebrow of, is this going to be more smaller trucks? And then in 2023, quarter three, the Gen 2 full-size truck that Farley was talking about said that it's going to be the most thrilling vehicles, performance, innovation, and lounge/office-like super flexible cabins. And that's what he was talking about on the Gen 2 full-size trucks. If you want to go ahead and pick up or put out a pick 3, this actually shows you a patent that they just acquired in in 2023, and it's actually an assist on the very back. But if you look at it, the tailgate's modified, and you could see kind of the back is a little bit more sleeker, more of that aerodynamic look that the T3 picture that we had up before was looking like. And if you want to put in pick 4, they've got a modified frunk. So I think this is what they were talking about with the super flexible cabin. It looks like that they're going to do some modifications with that frunk to make it more of an office type. Something that pulls out. You can have blueprints on there. You can have a desk for your laptop, or you can have it as a project, for, maybe you got some kind of wood carpentry design thing that you got to modify. You can pull that out and work right there on it.
Yeah, like a workbench.
Yeah, like a workbench. Yeah, it's going to have tool storages in there. So I think this is what they're talking about on the super flexible cabin. And then on pick 5, you have the side image right there where it kind of comes out. And then it looks like you can almost put in like a TV or some type of board up there for visual stuff. And then on pick 6, you have the back. Now, we saw this at the Silverado, in the Silverado at that car show, where the back window actually folded down and you had like 11 feet of bed. Well, this looks like it actually like comes up. And then if you go to pick 7, it looks like it can lay flat. So it's almost like the back end of a Jeep, where they were talking about possibly putting some more seating back in the bed, but it would be open. So these have all been filed from pretty much 2023 to 2024, which and if you keep on looking at the truck, it's very rounded, and they keep that design. So I think you're going to see a massive redesign in some of these newer trucks coming out. Like I said, they were supposed to have the 2025 plant up and running in Tennessee. They have now rolled that back, and they're saying that the Tennessee plant and the Canada plant will probably get going around 2026, and it will not be strictly for EVs. They're actually switching those 2 plants to Super Duty plants. So my personal opinion on this, I think you're going to start seeing more of a hybrid Super Duty coming out of those plants. Kind of like what Mark was saying is that, they're in a weird, position right now. If they go all EVs, it doesn't seem to be working very well. But if they scale it back too much, they're going to be left behind. So I think Ford thinks hybrids are their answer. And so I think you're going to start seeing more of the power boost, like in the diesels. You're still going to have like a power stroke inside there, but it's going to be more like a power boost. It's going to be generating power for the hybrid batteries.
Well, thank you, Aaron. Yeah.
Thank you.
Comments coming in. YouTube, John Smith said, as long as we keep blocking low-cost Chinese EVs, the legacy companies will remain complacent. Ford should definitely not delay research and development.
John's right, I think. And then on YouTube, Spoonie412 says the truck has a lot of resistive force aerodynamically. And trucks are infamous for that, so yes.
YouTube, Spoonie412 also says, I also heard India manufactured a DC transformer for a new grid supply. Can't quite get my head around that. Transformers typically operate AC in, AC out, but that would be an interesting thing to read up on and see how they're achieving that.
Okay, so Aaron, I don't think was finished with his segment, and then we have Cass's segment as well still. Are you going to wrap it up, Aaron?
Oh, yeah, I can wrap. I'll wrap it up real quick. So, I think you're going to see in 2026 that some of these new plants are going to be pumping out the new vans. Ford has been very high on their vans. They've been switching them over to hybrids and electric, full electric, like the E-Transits, and they've been doing really, really well. So I think they're going to kind of go all in while they're making this transition. They also did file patents for the F100 and the F200, and also there's a rumor going around that the Ford Ranger is going to be there's going to be a Super Duty Ranger that's going to be a plug-in hybrid, and I think this is going to be like the first test that you're going to see before that technology gets into the F100 and F200. And then just my prediction down the road, I think you're going to see a complete new chassis I think you're going to see steer-by-wire, and I think you're going to see 48-volt systems. And I think you're going to see a lot of diesel hybrids with torque assist coming out of these new trucks and out of these new plants. You're going to see bigger batteries, and I think you're going to see possibly some other cutting-edge technology that I think will help Ford out. They seem to be taking a little bit of their time, but I think they're trying to take their time to get it right. So I think you're going to see a lot of good things. However, a lot of this stuff is projected to come out in 2027 and 2028 now instead of like in a year or two.
Thank you, Aaron. And I apologize for cutting you off earlier. I thought that pause meant that you were done. YouTube, Dean Bortz is joining us. Welcome. He says the GMC Sierra EV Denali has been released. I actually passed by a dealership and one was on the lot. It looked pretty good. I don't know the price point, but it does have a good range specification.
I just looked up because I had not heard too much about the Sierra other than it was coming in the future. Price point for their base or elevation line is $70,000 or thereabouts. It's not released yet. The AT4 would be $85,000. The Denali extended range, that's the one that's going to be out already, is $91,995, and the Denali max range is $100,000.
Thank you. Okay. So, Cass, do we have an update from you?
Hey guys.
Cass.
Welcome, Cass.
Hey, so I was talking about the self-balancing motorcycles last time, right?
You were, yes.
And Pete, can you pull up the images from last week? Because I think Cass said those images will work.
I actually moved them into that today's
in
folder
today's?
as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have a little cast folder.
All right. Got it.
So to recap real quick, so we talked about self-balancing, self-stabilizing bikes and kind of the physics behind it, right? A lot of the time it was a gyroscope, right? And so we were
Yes.
talking about that and talking about how some places are trying to forego the gyroscope. We had talked about Honda and then a little bit on BMW, and then we kind of glanced over Yamaha. So we're going to kind of focus on BMW and Yamaha now. There is, if you can see in the folder, you should have my document. In my document, if you go all the way down to the BMW, there should be a YouTube link. If you want to click on that, if you can. If you can't, that's okay.
I'll click on that.
But BMW Motorrad has their BMW R 1200 GS, which is their self-driving bike. So this is not made for people's to ride or to have. It's not meant for production. They want to use it to gather the data and kind of understand how to help implement safety features that are akin to cars. So, Tesla in particular, if something either stops really quickly or comes at it, the Tesla will auto brake.
Mhm.
Yes?
Yes.
So that's kind of the idea with their BMW.
So I have a video here from Lit Motors, that C-1. Is that the one you want me to play?
No, that's a completely different.
Okay.
So I think you guys scroll back to the top of that document. There should be links throughout it.
Yeah,
Which link are you looking for?
the BMW Motorrad. So it should
BMW
say
Motorrad.
BMW Motorrad, BMW
Right there.
R12. Yes.
Motorrad, yeah.
Click on that. There we go. Okay. Are we ready to play?
Yep. Go on.
Here we go.
Pull
I'm
it
gonna
up,
go
make
full
it full screen. There you go.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Riderless. Yes.
Yeah, there's no rider on it.
Self-driving.
It's self-driving. The saddle bags on the back is obviously where the computer sits. So you see it's doing its turns, it's doing its leans. So there's the rider to kind of show you what we do as riders, right?
Mm-hmm.
It will also park itself and follow the rider. So the whole point of this is to understand how we ride and understand what the bike can do to prevent future accidents, right? So it's their learning tool for more safety features for a motorcycle. Yes, we understand that we don't have walls, and yes, we understand the risks, but as manufacturers, just like cars, they want to be able to make a vehicle even safer than what it is, even though we don't have walls, right?
Hmm.
So the underlying technology is to serve platform for the development of future systems and functions to make motorcycling even safer and more comfortable and increase their riding pleasure.
Was that kickstand? Did it extend that
Yeah.
itself?
Yeah, it popped it out itself.
Amazing. I missed that, but then suddenly I saw it standing on the kickstand.
That's so cool.
Look at that.
So that's what BMW is working on, right? And so there's a whole bunch of other manufacturers doing roughly the same thing. So Yamaha decided to do something somewhat similar. So Yamaha has their stabilization assistance system, or their advanced motorcycle stabilization advanced system, or their AMSAS. Again, their whole thought process is to help reduce accidents. So they did a lot of data for this one. So 10% is recognition errors, 17 is decision errors, 5% is operational errors. 70% of accidents occur within the 2 seconds of trigger leading to the accident. Based on these numbers, Yamaha runs a 4 vectors: assisted danger prediction, damage prevention, assisted defense riding, assisted evasive riding, and damage mitigation. Meaning, that's a lot of words. Meaning, the bike will read around it and assist the rider in a more defensive riding. So kind of like a Tesla. Tesla is sitting and reading around the Tesla, right? And reading if there's going to be any additional dangers, sudden stops, sudden movements, stuff like that. The bike now is going to kind of read that around the rider. Yes, the rider can see it as well, but as humans, there are often mistakes.
There's a margin for error. Yeah. Proximity sensors included in this as well?
I believe so. But we do also kind of have to take into account when riders and drivers tend to be a bit on autopilot. 70% of accidents happen in intersection, not just motorcycle accidents, regular car accidents as well. And it happens within 5 to 10 miles from home, which is where your body starts to kind of go on autopilot. You know the terrain, you know kind of where you're at, so you don't really pay attention when you're really supposed to be paying attention.
Do you think that a biker who's not paying attention and the bike suddenly comes to a rapid deceleration, a slow down, or even a stop, that biker could end up over the handlebars?
That is a great question, and it's possible. Granted, even if the biker is paying attention and they do a sudden rapid stop, there is still potential for the rider to just go over the handlebars, because that's just how physics works.
Now, if they have parkour skills, of course, they would simply roll and stand back up afterwards, right?
So Yamaha is foregoing the gyroscope, which is what we had talked about last time, and how the gyroscope kind of helps self-balance, right? So instead, it uses a 6-axis inertial measurement unit, and to pair actuators to the adjustments to keep the bike balanced, which again is a lot of words. So if I'm understanding it correctly, instead of the bike being the way that it normally is, where all of the actuators are at the front, they flip it. So it's not what a normal bike is. The rider aid focuses on the instability of the motorcycle experiences and start off or when the rider's slower speeds happen. So the whole point of it is to help self-balance the bike when sudden stops happen or when you are at slower speeds. First gear, for instance. So first gear, you dependent on the bike, you go from 0 to 15, 0 to 20. That's slow speeds, right? So when starting or stopping, the drive actuator fitted in the front wheel aids with stability. And from up there, it's like 5 kilometers an hour, or like 1 to 2 to 5 miles an hour. The steering actuator attached to the handlebars takes over. If you look at images 5 through 8, you'll see this big old box at the front of the bike. So if you're able to pull that up, yes. So there's this big old box at the front of the bike, right by the wheel, where there's that little like tiny,
This right here, Kat?
yeah, that thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even know what that's called. But that right there is supposed to help stabilize the bike. So that's lower speeds.
Okay.
In 2017, Yamaha unveiled their self-driving concept bike. 6 years later, they came out with their MotoRid 2 and their handlebar-free bike that uses a gyroscope and AI to navigate to stay upright. The plans for production of the model are not revealed yet. They also have a moto bike. So if you continue down, I think it is that one right there. That's their moto bike. So that's their AI bike. Again, the same concept as BMW. They're using a lot of that research to help make bikes safer. Both of those items contributed to the development of AMSAS. Yamaha has set a target of reducing the number of fatal motorcycle accidents to 0 by 2050. Personally, I doubt that's even possible, but lessening fatal motorcycle accidents with technology is still a win regardless of numbers. AMSAS is technology with potential to become a pivotal rider aid if used in conjunction with other technology like radar linked or a unified braking system.
Okay.
And then next time we can talk about lit motors, because that one actually is really cool, but very detailed. So that's the lit motors.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
We have something that looks just like that, but it's inverted in Gruber Motor Company.
Yes.
Which is the Electromechanica Solo vehicle, the G3. Except the 2 wheels are in the front of the car and the single wheel is in the rear.
Lit motors is just 2 wheels. It's not 3.
Oh, this is only 2?
Yeah, that's only 2 wheels.
Okay.
So it's still
Self-standing as well.
technically, yes, it's standing all on its own.
Wow.
On 2 wheels.
Self-balancing.
Self-balancing,
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Cass, thank you very much. We're looking forward to your
Yes,
next
thank you.
version in 2 weeks. And we'll get more updates on this technology. Martin Woods is joining us. He says, hit the like button from YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you.
Spoonie412 says thanks. And then Martin Woods with YouTube says, someone in the UK recently bought the one and only UK road legal Cybertruck for around £200,000.
How much would it take when you have steer-by-wire to flip it from a left-hand drive to a right-hand drive?
Good point. Yeah.
You might not take that. It might not be that bad. That's pretty cool. On YouTube, Mustafa Elgomel says, this reminds me of Google April Fool prank of self-driving bicycles.
Right. Now, of course, I would have read that a pearl, but then again, I read everything on the teleprompter. But you caught it.
I caught that one. Yes. Finally, Spoonie412 on YouTube says, the color vivid teal would have an amazing appearance for a paint job.
Yeah,
A vivid teal really would.
it would. True. Good point. Well, we're coming to the close of our podcast here. We've run an hour this morning. We hope you enjoyed it. And as always, we thank everybody that comes in and chimes in. And for those of you that are watching it later, again, welcome and thanks for being there with us. We'll be back next week for another edition of the Gruber Morning Show, the EV podcast. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Thanks for joining us.